I represent a model railway club, and we're looking for some funding to purchase track. And this event, they've got £20,000 up for grabs, and the community decide where the money goes.
Well, today I'm going to try and get some funding for playground equipment for the children at the school.
I have nominated a project which is to regenerate a churchyard at Morecambe Parish Church. The whole idea is that the people of Poulton, and only the people of Poulton, will vote on each project, and the £20,000 will be given away this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start proceedings in 5 minutes.
Each group is going to have a 3-minute presentation, and we are going to have to keep it very strictly to 3 minutes.
Let's start off then. We have David from Morecambe Parish Church.
We know that people's perception that they can participate in decision making is a key driver and has a direct correlation with levels of trust and satisfaction.
I therefore commend this project to you and ask for your vote this afternoon.
Now we know that both trust and satisfaction are taking a bit of a dive in the public sector at the moment, so actually there does seem to be a correlation between the sense that people can influence decisions and trust and satisfaction. Doesn't necessarily mean that they do, but it's that sense that they can.
I'd like to hand you over now to Ebony, who'd like to speak.
Hi, my name is Ebony. We would like you to give us a grant for £2,000.
So in order for us to continue, please support our movement.
Hello, I am Dean Harrison. And there's Jack Lord.
When you do it in public, and when other people know it's your reputation on the line, right? I can give my mate 10 out of 10 for his little project, but in fact, this business about making the hospital work better in the town I live in,
evacuation.
like I've actually got to pay some attention to that.
To support our older residents.
Once you deliver something that actually allows people to make a decision, it's incredible how compelling it is, how willing people are to participate in these things, because they are exciting.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much.
That's why people are less engaged in politics in the representative sense, but they're much more engaged in politics in a personal sense, in terms of the power that they feel to affect their community, the world around them. I think that's steadily increasing as their trust in representative politicians is steadily decreasing.
We got the money. Oh, it was absolutely superb. We had a really good day. We were really, really chuffed by it all, and everybody that's been involved is absolutely delighted with it.
Right, guys. Yesterday, Jack and I went. As you know, we went to the In Your Hands. It was unsuccessful. But we didn't get enough votes.
I mean, although we weren't successful at that time. I mean, it opened my eyes up to how many other different organisations, were in the area.
But at least the people are making a decision.
Yeah, for the community, it was a good idea.
I don't think the money was spent on anything that didn't deserve it, so...
Is this the first one?
This is the first one, yeah.
Yeah. Right, it's the first time I'd heard of it. I'd never heard of it before. Right.
So we know better next time. If there's another event like that, we know better.
It was a learning curve.
You don't have to get your way to feel enfranchised. What actually comes of giving people responsibility for decision making is they really care about the decisions of the minorities within a group, and that people are very willing to compromise, and that compromise is easily achievable once everybody's cards are on the table and people can really understand the viewpoints at work.
Democracy is a lot more than majority rule on a nightly basis. The technology is becoming possible for millions of people to have a conversation.
The assumption that people will be included is spreading so widely and so deeply. That, I think, is going to be a big driver of governmental change. It's not just when it becomes an option for the people in elected office, but also an expectation of their constituents.
It's just that now we have, a mass consumer technology that supports this, and so we're only now beginning to discover what we can do with it.
In a country where clearly voter turnout levels are pretty low, lots of people believe that politicians don't work for them, where lots of people feel that nothing they can do matters or in any way has any impact at all. It would give citizens a lot more power if they knew a lot of stuff that was currently hidden or effectively secret. But I also think it would enable politicians to run much better government. And this is a thing that I think politicians don't often believe. They tend to think transparency is just something used to harm them. And opacity may hide problems today, but it almost certainly builds the biggest scandals of the sort that then cause politicians real massive trouble. So if I could make them understand anything about this new world, it would be that much greater transparency probably makes them much more electable people.
It is a shift in power. It's a different kind of democracy, in my view. It is seeing representative democracy as playing an important role, and it's also not romanticising the fact that everyone wants to sit on committees.
And of course, for government and politicians, that is a profound challenge to the way politics is normally done, which is, we communicate from on high, from Parliament, from Whitehall, and only once every 4 years or 5 years is there a general election where the public are brought in. Now, I think that's a good thing that this change is happening, but I think it will shake up British politics and indeed politics around the world in a way that people probably haven't anticipated yet.
If you look at what George Osborne is saying and some of the other people in the new wing of the Conservative Party, they appear to understand what's going on in the real world in terms of social networks and MySpace generations and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's partly because they have the advantage of being in opposition for a period of time. Whether they can apply that to government is another question.
Remember, we do have this thing called, which is sort of voting. You know what I mean, where people get to choose who their representatives are. Do you know what I mean? Politics is quite open to...
Once every 4 years.
Exactly.
Is that enough?
No, it isn't. Definitely not. I mean, I think let me think about how I would put this.
New paradigms cause dislocation and confusion, and they're nearly always received with coolness, or worse, mockery, hostility, and vested interest fight against change.
It's very important that the role for government remains, the role for government being to provide the resources for people to make local decisions about how they want money spent in an area. This isn't about sort of a DIY country, because if you had a DIY country without any role for government, then where would the funding come from for all the important things that people want done in a particular area, for example?
I think representative democracy was based on the idea that people are thick. That's not true. I think there's a much more radical thing that will happen, which is basically that people go around the side of representative democracy, and rather than saying, I want to kind of have input on what this politician is deciding in Parliament, they'll do it themselves.
I think what we'll see is just some of the activities and powers of government moving into the public realm, and they will be run better by citizens than they are by government.
Imagine you wanted to build a new railway between London and Birmingham that cut the journey time. How much would that cost? At the moment, the only method of doing that is through taxes. Now, if you were to use the point to do that, completely outside of public policy, you could do it. You could do it. There is this possibility of using these tools to do massive things, which is completely unexplored at the moment.
Broader numbers of people can be engaged in something like policy formation. For example, the Green Party in Canada created its program through a wiki, where all members of the Green Party could come together, just like with Wikipedia, and co-innovate and co-create a political program. And it worked out pretty well.
And actually what these tools are doing are allowing people to make decisions themselves and to work collaboratively in a way that means that representative democracy is less meaningful to them.
There's a whole new model that's emerging where we become part of the government. I call it Government 2.0.
What I think will happen is going to be a much higher degree of hybridization between government and the people, and in particular the groups of people that they serve.
There's a good analogy for the new model of government in terms of the changes in the internet itself. MySpace beats MTV, CNN.com gets eclipsed by Blogger.com. Similarly with governments, rather than doing everything, could more create a platform whereby citizens and others can self-organize to create better value than what currently exists.
We've seen lots of other changes in the past that, you know, could potentially lead to a better world, but actually result in, you know, First World War trench warfare or, you know, genocide in the Second World War, for example. So I think, you know, we should be careful about having too utopian a vision, you know, for how these things will play out.
Of course, there are lots of challenges in doing something like this. There'll be saboteurs. There'll be some people who won't have access to the web. There's the whole complexity of millions of ideas and how these get aggregated together and the good ones come to the fore. But these are all in the category of implementation challenges. They're not in the category of reasons not to do it.
In any revolution, there are downsides. But I'm optimistic that you know, we're living through what economists would call a positive supply-side shock to the amount of freedom in the world. More people can say more things to more people than ever in history, and that is still growing enormously. And I think in the times when we've seen enormous increases in intellectual or political freedom, there has certainly been a period of chaos immediately afterwards. But that over the long haul, the values of those changes have been not just mainly positive, but enormously positive for society.
We will have a form of government that engages and understands and knows what to do with what people are saying.
It's a politics where you can help as well as just say like what you want, and that's an amazing thing. And at the moment we're starting to see that with some online projects. But imagine if, you know, a country was run like that, or imagine if even just a town was run like that. You know, in the way that we're starting to see, you know, football clubs run like that. You know, I think that's a sign of things to come.
As time goes on, we will see people increasingly comfortable participating in situations where the social value is really about other people caring enough rather than someone being paid to provide that value. And where the end point of that is, I don't know. But I do think the end result is going to be quite profound.